everyone, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to do a spiral stitch or a spiral knot using wax linen cording, and we're going to be adding some beads to that. This is a necklace here that I've done. We're going to be doing a bracelet. For this, you're going to need some wax linen cording. The wax linen cording is cord that is linen, and then it has on it this little waxy coating to it. That eventually will come off a little bit for it, but when you start, you'll have that waxy feel. The advantage to that is we're going to be using beads, and you can use a lot of beads with this wax linen cording. We're going to be using beads. I have some 6mm glass pearls. I have some check leaves in a green iris color. I also have some 3mm check glass in Montana blue. I have a button closure that I'm going to be using. And in addition to the materials, we're going to be using some super glue glue and a pair of scissors. So to start out, I've cut 2 pieces of wax linen cording that are about 32 inches long. And I'm going to double them over. So you're going to end up with 2 pieces that are doubled over, 16 inches on each side of your cording. What I'm going to do is make a knot at the starting end. And what this knot is going to do is it's going to hold my button in place for my closure. So to make this knot, I'm just going to do an overhand knot. I am using both loops. If you want, you can just do one loop and then tie the other piece on. I'm just going to use both. And you want to make the loop, again, big enough that your button can fit through, but not too big that it's going to really take away from the look of your design. So this is about perfect. And then we're going to get ready to get started. To get started, I am going to start with a basic twisted ladder there, and then we're going to go into adding beads. To do our basic little spiral step here, what we're going to be using are the 4 pieces of cording, because we doubled over those 2. And I'm going to put 1 piece of cord out to the right, 2 down the middle, and 1 out to the left. If you've never done this before, we also have a video which you can see it a little bit better because it uses cotton cording, and you can see that spiral much better, and it's a bigger piece of thread or a bigger piece of cotton, so that way you can see the stitch a little bit better. So if you've never done any hemp stitching or any sort of knotting like that, you may want to pause this video, go to that video, watch that one first, and then come on back. If you're ready to go, we're going to be doing that spiral. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a 4, or what I call my Snoopy nose, with my left cording. It's going to go over top of the 2 middle cords. And it's just going to kind of sit right there for now. The cording that's on the left is going to go over the top of the back here of Snoopy's nose. It's going to go underneath the cording, underneath that cross section, and up through the middle of Snoopy's nose. I'm going to pull that nice and tight and slide that knot up right there to the end of my project. Again, I'm going to make a Snoopy nose here. Kind of hold that in place with my right hand. With my left hand, I'm taking the cording going over the right piece of cording, and I'm going underneath and through the back and picking up that cording there on the side, pulling nice and tight, and then I'm going to get the start of that spiral. Again, always to the right. If you happen to go to the left, you're going to get a straight little look of knots. You want it to be twisted, because that's going to make it a little bit more fun when we get to adding beads. I'm going to do this for about 7 stitches, just to kind of get it started and in place. Also, you don't want beads too close to the end, or it's going to make it difficult to put on and off, especially if it's a bracelet. So my Snoopy nose, the left goes over that, underneath all 3 of those cords, and out through the middle of Snoopy's nose. Pull nice and tight and continue. And you can see a little bit, it's hard to see with this finer thread, but you can see a little bit that square and that little cobra stitch or that ladder stitch starting. Once I have, like I said, about 6 to 10 of these, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to add my beads. When I add my beads, I'm going to be adding beads to all the different portions of my cording. So when you're looking to add beads, you're going to add beads to your right thread, both middle threads, and left thread. That being said, you don't need to add beads to every cord, but that's how you're going to get it to look like that kind of fluffy look. The nice thing again about the wax linen cording is at the end here, it is waxed a little bit, so I can even fit onto the wax linen cording some of these smaller beads here. And they'll even fit on my small cording. I'm going to put a check glass bead on there. Put one of my leaves on here. Pull that through. I'm going to put another one of my check glass beads on. Slide that up, and then one of my pearls. Once I have all 4 beads on, I'm going to push them up into place. When I say into place, that's going to mean right next to where my last little knot was. So all 4 beads are going to hang out there by the top. What I'm going to do then is reestablish my middle cords, reestablish my cord to the right, and my cord to the left. Again, I'm going to do that spiral where I take the cord to the right, it's going over top of the middle 2 cords. Cord to the left is going over top the back of that Snoopy right there, and coming out through the middle of his nose. Tie my knot, and that's going to kind of force all of these beads to have a little fluff section there. I'm going to do another knot. I like to do 2 in between adding beads. And then I'm ready to add my next set. My next set, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add different beads to the different sides now of my cording. So my cording that's here on the left, I'm going to add a leaf. And I always call this kind of designed randomness. I like to get a design to it, and I don't want to make it look too manufactured, but I also don't want too many beads in the same place. This is one of those designs that looks really nice when you do use a variety of beads and beads that have some shape to them. So this pearl necklace over here, I use some of the blister pearls that we have. And this necklace gets a lot of wear in the summertime. And again, I'm just kind of feeding beads on. Once you get going, you don't even need to think about which beads you're using. You can use any. I'm going to push those beads right up into place, reestablish an order where I have 2 cordings down the middle, 1 to the right, 1 to the left. 1 to the right goes over the middle 2, 1 to the left crosses over and comes out through the middle. I'm going to pull tightly and let those beads kind of pop in place. When you pull tight, it actually forces the beads up into a position. I'm going to give it a nice tight pull. Again, I'm going to do another one of my little Snoopy ears here. If you have a hemp project board or a project board, you can also tack this down. It's up to you. Also, if you know how many beads you want to use and kind of how random you want to make it, you can preload all of your cords and then just tie a knot at the end as far as which beads you want to use. So I'm going to continue doing this, loading on beads on each piece of cording, and then doing 2 of my little Snoopy nose knots there and continue on. So just to show it continuing, I'm continuing putting 4 beads on each cord, pushing them up into place, reestablishing 2 middle and 1 side and the other side, then knotting. When I'm pulling up here, I am pulling up pretty tightly, and what that's doing is that's creating kind of that bend and that twist that's in there. You want that to happen. If you get it too spread out and not tight enough, it's not going to look as fluffy. Also, when you're working on it, if your cordings get mixed up and you're not after you put on some beads, you're not sure exactly what cords were in the middle and which ones are on the sides. Doesn't matter. That's the nice thing of this project, is you can do all different cords at all different sections, and it's not going to really matter at all for the look. Like I said, you can use a huge variety of beads. I think they look fun with all different beads. Rizzos would look nice on here, some Megatamas, some 6/0 seed beads. Anything that has a nice shape to it is going to give a good appearance for this bracelet or necklace if you want to make it a little bit longer. It's a nice quick way to make this fluff look of a bracelet without having to seed bead. After your beads go on, you establish 2 middle lines, right and left, and you're giving it a knot. Pulling that knot tight and doing another one. And I'm proceeding with this for the whole rest of my bracelet. And this section for me is going to be right about 6 inches. So when I put my clasp on, it's going to be about 6.5. So once you're done doing your knots, what you're going to get ready to do is put your button on the other clasp so it can hook in. And to finish it off, what I do is a couple more knots of that little spiral step there. That way, again, when you get to the end, you don't want to have the beads right next to your clasp. I'm going to just finish those off to the side. And with the 2 that are here, what I'm going to do is actually just use one of them. So these were the 2 middles. I'm going to go up the back of my button, come down through the front of my button, and just to decorate it up a little bit, I'm going to use one of those check glass beads, and I'm going to put that right in the middle of the button in the front, because my button has a little bit of a concave shape here. And I'm putting this through, pulling nice and tight, and getting that right next to my knots and my ending. At the bottom here, I'm going to take the 2 middle pieces, and I'm going to tie a knot. I'm tying those 2 together. To finish it all up then, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get ready to do a little bit of glue. I'm going to glue that knot there at the end of my button, and I'm also going to glue at the ends of my stitches. Once that dries, I'm going to trim it down and cut it off, and then we'll be ready to wear our bracelet. And once that dry and you've cut them down, you can just go in and put on your bracelet and wear it. And that's going to be the end of my design. You can really do tons and tons of variety on this and tons of a variation. It's basically a quick fluff bracelet. I did use my entire strand of my check glass beads. Just to let you know, I used both the entire strand of both the 3mm glass rounds as well as the 6-inch strand of my leaves as well. And then I use just a couple of the pearls as my accent when I'm looking. So hopefully this gives you some ideas whether or not you want to do it as a necklace or a bracelet. That's up to you, and how far you want to start your cording before you get ready to do that. You can do other clasps too. I just tend to do a button when I'm using the cording. Again, thanks a lot for watching. If you get a chance, you can visit us at PotomacBeads.com. Check out our locations page. We'd love to see you in one of our PBC locations. If you can't get to one of our locations and need some supplies, feel free to visit us online at thebeadco.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Potomac Bead Company. So thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully you learned something.